Okay, namaste, everybody. I want to start off with a blessing. And before I do the blessing, I want to do this pictogram. It's called The Coming of the New Worlds. And at some point, I'm going to get these, I guess, copied and put onto that. But for now, I have to hold it like this. So if you could just take a look at it. It is called The Coming of New Worlds. Because, ladies and gentlemen, they're a coming. They're coming. They will be here in a not too distant future in a very physical, evidential way where there can be no denying. All right, so that is the imprint. And here is the blessing. Blessed are they who seek the light, for light shall be given in greater measure. Blessed are they who give of the energy of light, for they shall know the increase. Blessed are the children of light upon the earth, for theirs is the reward of the redemption. For the children of light are given the work of lifting the planet out of its state of darkness. Through the increase in vibratory rate as it emanates from the being into the ethers. As ye are lifted, you will draw unto the self that one who seeks. The child of light is thereby the servant of the Most High, and so it is. Esri umpalti ata yod he vod he. Esri umpalti ata yod he vod he. Esri umpalti ata yod he vod he. I behold the healing nature of the divine radiating through me and activating my heart chakra. I behold all of the beings who surround me with love and offer me their spiritual support. I reject those not of the divine host who want only to control me or have me control others. Once I have surpassed this temptation, I can see clearly enough to behold the all penetrating divine eye, which continually watches over me, whether it be from the divine host or directly from the powers of renewal and transformation from the Supreme One. I see in this vision how the divine is guiding me and directing my every action. I lack nothing because you have helped me and I am no longer alone. Namaste, family of light. I'm so glad that you are here. Okay, so I guess what I want to do is, you know, how the idea or the reality actually of extraterrestrials to other beings, sentient beings of light that are just throughout the universe and universes. I mean, life is teeming in many different ways, and we are one of several species of the divine. But I would just want to mention that we tend to be, and of course, all life is referenced no matter what, but we actually are kind of special, if you will, in this level of creation because our uh, source or our beginnings come from a very, very high level. And I think Genesis, in the book of Genesis, talks about this. It's, where it says that God, created humanity and he wanted the angels and specifically the archangels, that they were to support us, help to serve us and this, that, and the other. And then uh, we were held by the divine. We were special and we were operating on a very, very high aeon. Okay, not even maybe even before this earth was created. And so something happened. So somebody given the opportunity of being a co-creator, on the higher levels, you had a consciousness that said, hey, I don't know, we want to do that. And hey, we can co-create too. And hey, I don't know, I like the way this species look. And so whatever the dynamics happened, there was some sort of a split. And in that split, okay, was a falling in frequency, and we came into this density. Okay, but this is the deal. We still hold that higher aeon or that higher dimension of light, which comes from a very high place. It's like, very, very close to Azaluth, which is the divine emanation, which talks about the unknowable. It is the source of all things. So, it's on a very, very high level. So we hold this magic elixir, maybe you could put it. That is why we are prized, because we have this. It's our birthright. And there are other beings that are aware of this where we're not. We may not be aware of it. And quite frankly, the masses of people that just, get up, eat, go to work, come back, sleep, they are clueless about this too. But the ones who are aware of it, okay, they're like, oh, wow, this humanity holds a similitude. They don't even know how special they are and the light that they hold. And we can use this light that they have for our purposes for us to maintain our power and authority over them and this planet. Okay. And so we're going to manipulate these humans, okay, because they're part of the density of the animal body. And that animal body has its own consciousness. It wants to live, it wants to continue, it wants to procreate and continue the species, which is something that is important. It's there for our own survival, but you got to feed it, you got to take care of it. So this body wrap, okay, which is operating on a lower density from our higher spiritual one, has its demands and it's pretty loud about it, but then there's this other part that's saying, hello, we want to tell you that you're not just this body, you're something way more than that, way more than that. And so always humanity, surface humans, but I would say humanity, as I mentioned, that's all over the universe, inside the earth, on the earth's surface and beyond, has always had a sense that there's something more. The gods are out there. The gods are out there. So what has happened is that there are many layers of the, you could say, the spiritual hierarchy. I talk a lot of the ascended masters, many of us are familiar with that. And these are beautiful beings, who at some point had walked to earth, were able to ascend. They didn't leave and go on. They're kind of hanging out here to bring everybody else together, and move forward. You have different avatars of light to try to, spark that seed, to remind us of who we are, and to walk a certain way to be able to bring that more into your life and less from the shackles of the animal body. Okay, or at the very minimum, bring a balance to that. So as the Buddha said, detachment, desire is when you're chained, is when you are not able to be free, because the animal body of desire can be that strong. And so it just pulls your attention away, from that other part of yourself that originates in the higher non-fallen ascended realms, which is what we're all trying to get back to. So there's many different layers, and I'm not going to say there's just one thing, because in another dynamic, school is a classroom, and we are here to learn lessons too. Okay, and so that's that part of it is also integrated into this overall picture. But at some point in our evolution, as a humanity, in this creation, on the surface of the earth, we get to the point of saying we're coming to the understanding that we have to live in some kind of unity, and if we're going to survive, as a species. And there are those before us that have gone through this same kind of initiation, and they know where we are now. There have been some that were successful and some that were not. It's like, you have to go back at the end of the line, start all over again. So I think perhaps our creation may have had to do that one or two times before, but here we are. And the goal is for us to actually make the leap, make the ascension, and to wake it up and to remember who we are. And because just as strong, there's this world of Maya or delusion or illusion that's being perpetuated, okay, from a higher source that does not want us to make the ascension. They don't want to lose their prize, okay, and they're going to do everything that they can, all right, to keep their power and not give it away. And we are a source of their power because we hold the light. We hold the light. We have this thing that's very precious. And if you look at a lot of movies, and there was one called, is it Jupiter Rising? I don't remember, but that was a good movie to kind of, or Jupiter Ascending, uh, that kind of tells you the story that, they want to hold on to this light because it's like a source for them because they cannot self-generate it. Ideally, in many of the ancient scriptures, it talked about the light comes and you're supposed to return it to the light. And they're saying, we're not going to return this light to the higher levels. We want it for ourselves. We want it for ourselves. And therefore, we're just going to cap it at us. Okay. That's what we're going to do. That's basically it. And just sort of encapture this. So we find ourselves on the wheel of rebirth, coming back over and over and over again. And like, when do we get off this ride? So that's where we are right now. Like, we want to get off the ride now. And I know many of us, I know for myself, it's like, oh my God, I'm back here again. It's something is not right, from you kind of sense it from the beginning, which is, why you're here, that there has to be something more, something better. And thus your quest, your spiritual quest that brings you to where we find ourselves right now. So it's when you're ready. My story is this. I guess like all of you, well, even when I was little, I was like, we can't be the only ones on the planet. And I was born in the 50s, and that's when they were just doing the whole, what is it, Gordon, something Gordon, and more like this, exposed to the concept of outer space and life out of space. And I remember they had the robots back then. And it's almost like what's going on, and what's definitely going on now, is, as we're evolving, as awareness is coming, and you have people who write books and the producers and people who have influencers of saying, there is something else going on. And in every generation, they have that. So, but this has been like a growing foundational thing that has been going on at least for the past 100, 150 years, and probably longer than that in our recent history. And so we've come to the point now where more and more people are waking up to this. And you have those children that are coming in that are already more awake than they were, because you have the people who are opening up. It's all energetic. And so you're drawing in those souls. Okay, they're going to have a higher awareness when they already arrive. So more and more of that is happening. And so as we hold the light, you're bringing in the crystals, you're bringing in those children now that are already ignited with their psychic powers and with their abilities. Okay, somebody had to hold the space for this to happen, just like how in the past people held a space for us. So this is what we do, because we've been building to go back to the source, to bring our ascension to where we can now finally be released of the fallen world of duality. Like we've come up to here now, we got our lessons, we understand, but now we don't want to go back again at the end of the line and start all over again. We don't want to do that. And that has happened in the past. And so now it's important that we kind of get it and we push it over. But as I mentioned, just remember, there are those service to self that doesn't want the game to change. They want to keep it the way it is. But that's not going to happen because as more and more of us are awakened, as more and more of us begin to realize that the way we're going to maneuver and get out of this predicament we find ourselves, as challenging as it can be, is come from the higher heart of compassion. That's the way out. All of the sentient beings of light, okay, you're seeing the icons, they point here, they point to the heart. That's how you get back. You get back through love. Now, you have, as I said, there's always been this sense that there has to be more than where we found ourselves as children. And my personal story is that when, you know, well, I had an experience when I was 2.5 years old, and I experienced, what I would guess you would call it cosmic consciousness. I was one with everything. And that has been the defining point in my life that has brought me on this path. And but when I was about, I don't know, maybe it's 8 years old or 9 years old, and I really got a chance to see what the world was like, I was absolutely devastated that I was on the planet. I was like, oh my God, what the heck am I doing here? There's a big mistake. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be here. And very upset, and this sense of abandonment, like for a very long time. And I still kind of have that sense of abandonment that, I was dropped off on a spaceship here on this planet, and my family took off and left me here. And so even when I was in elementary school, I remember we had to do a report about the stars, and everybody said the world, or Earth, and I would say this planet with an attitude for a long time. Anyway, fast forward. So, life goes on, you get involved in life. We are in a three-dimensional world. We cannot forget. We have to have food and shelter. We have to take care of the body wrap. That has its place in this creation, and we have to be sure to take care of that as well. Until and then always, I'm sure many of you have always looked up at the stars, just gazed at the stars like, okay, what's going on? What's the real story here? So we've all gone through that. And then it was really a book by Sylvia Brown. And I just happened to read her book, and she mentioned about extraterrestrials, that they've been here for a long time. And this is before ancient aliens. And it was just something about in that moment, when I read this particular paragraph, that it hit me as an undeniable truth. And ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you that, you know, I've been discerning about what I say, because not everybody's ready for this. Not nor should they be shocked into oblivion. Okay. But because I remember when it sank in that this was really, really true, I was like, oh my God, because it changes everything. It changes everything that you know that this is the case. Your perspective of life is no longer as it was before. So you have pre, realization, awakening of extraterrestrial, and you have post. Okay. Some years ago, I was involved in a class, and there was a lady there, and I just kind of assumed that all the people that were at this particular class, I just speak normal when I'm in an environment that I feel I could just, not be, discerning about what I say depending on my audience. So I was just having a casual conversation, and I just brought up extraterrestrials, like everyday language. And then I saw the lady, her eyes kind of glazed over, when I said that. And then, I just saw this sense of shock on her face, and I'm like, oh my God, she doesn't know. She doesn't know. So I've been since that I kind of temper myself. But for the most part, all of us and the environment that we're in, most people are aware of this. So, okay, so now where does this tie into our spirituality? Because when you are on a spiritual path, okay, and when you are a seeker of truth, and you're coming from the highest intention, which is sourced in love, you're going to attract those extraterrestrials, okay, that are really part of your family of light, they're extension of your family of light, into your space, into your environment, into your consciousness. And when my realization came concrete that yes, this is the deal, then I just became more aware, more attuned to anything. And the beginnings started with and I always wear moldavite. I'm never without moldavite. So I have a piece of moldavite over here. And it really started really with these earrings, which is like a Celtic knot and it has a polished moldavite on it, which I've had, I don't know how many decades, but at any rate, how this part of my spirituality got amplified is I went to it was one of those like jewelry shows, where they have the stones, one of those mineral shows. I actually was in here in Sarasota, Florida, and I saw these earrings, and a lady had a thing about moldavite, and I was not familiar with moldavite. Anyway, when she told me that it was not sourced from the earth, that it came from outer space, that got my attention. And I said, "Oh wow, I want to get these earrings." So I bought the earrings. I also bought the head incense of moldavite, and I bought a book about moldavite. And so I read it, and then I did a meditation. I'm in front of my altar one day, and I was holding the moldavite, and just as clear as day, what came into my mind telepathically as a pictogram was a flying saucer, the traditional saucer type of thing, just as there. So I actually got shocked. I was like, oh my God. And later on, long story short, I understood it to be, okay, the Palladians. I never heard of the Palladians and, the various star systems that were out there, um, the Seven Sisters and all of that. So all of this is new. So I'm now really getting into it and really kind of reading and getting myself, educated. Well, long story short, through divine synchronicities and how that all works, because this is the deal. Uh, you've been in communication with extraterrestrials if you're on this call. Absolutely, you have. They're saying, "Oh, we're looking to see if there's contact." Are you kidding me? They've been contacting us, and particularly those who have a certain frequency, as all of us here do. That we are here because we're on a mission. We came here for a reason, and different groups come to the planet for different reasons. Okay, but there is a group known as wanderers, star seeds, light workers. I think those are some of the names for them. They've come to a planet for a special purpose and mission. Okay, we have a mission to do. And so the fact that you have an interest in extraterrestrials, the fact that you're seeking answers as to who I am in this place of the universe, that only you and only you can fulfill that particular puzzle piece, that you're to do, at this time. There is a level of a mission, and whatever that is and how for you, it is important that you show up for that, however that expresses itself, because you are like a beacon point of higher knowledge coming in from higher levels of existence. Okay. And the ones that are closest to us, and I'll tell you about the anchoring light transmission meditation. What happened with the anchoring light transmission meditation, after I made a connection through Moldavite, okay, through a meditation, and got to see that flying saucer, was a connection to, as I said, from the Pleiades. okay, from the seven sisters. And so these beings of light are actually responsible for me starting the anchoring light transmission meditation. That how things were orchestrated in such a way, okay, was for this to happen. And the next thing I knew, I went to Dr. Stephen Greer. This is many, many moons ago, decades ago. And Dr. Stephen Greer, who at the time and still is very prominent in the whole extraterrestrial presence, I read his book and called Forbidden Knowledge. And in that moment, I said, I got to go there. I have to go there. And so I made arrangements, and a friend of mine, Lorraine Pinch, came with me. We drove to North Carolina, Nags Head, North Carolina. We were there for 1 week. And when I got there, it was my first experience of remote viewing, and on a larger level, a telepathic exchange. So the first thing that happened, he just started out, well, just, what do you see? Put the intention out there. And my very first time, I actually saw very clearly like an angel on a harp. And I'm like to myself, oh my God, what does that mean? It's not even remotely close to, the purpose of this conference, why I'm there. But anyway, I just found the courage to say what I saw. I saw a harp. And that had to do with HARP, HAARP, HAARP, HARP. So, which I didn't know at the time, and the people there enlightened me about it. So, as you knock on the doors, the information is going to start to come. And then also, in terms of this vein, which is what I'm talking specifically about extraterrestrials, is that we did have a one of those uh, night vision type of experiences where you go there, and he did say the military planes may come and they're going to look at who we are, but we went down on the beach, and the purpose was to make contact, and there was a lot of activity in that area of Nag's Head. So I'm sitting down there along with everybody else, and we're doing a meditation, and we're talking, and people have their equipment, and then all of a sudden there was the presence of military planes, like out of nowhere, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I witnessed that myself. So something was up. And then all of a sudden, all as my physical eyes could see, was these like little ruby balls, but they were in formation, like a V. They were like a V, and they were separate from, but it was, I just glimpsed it, like they looked like little ruby lights. And then it was just for like a couple of seconds, and then it disappeared. It went back up into space. And so I remember feeling disappointed because I just got a glimpse of it. And I said to myself, oh man, I really wanted to see what that was like. And then all of a sudden, I saw in my mind's eye a triangular craft, and it had like a reddish hue to it. And so my wanting to see it, okay, made a telepathic connection to, whoever the captain was on that craft, and telepathically showed me a picture of the craft. So after that happened, I came back to Sarasota, and actually where I was at the time, I was trying to say I'd like to, do this meditation, this anchoring light meditation, the idea that I got in my head, which I understood now to be from, the Palladians. And I was met with some resistance to it, mostly because the group I was with at the time were ignorant. They weren't even like close to, they were one of the groups that's like, we don't believe that extraterrestrials exist. And then when I brought it up, they rolled their eyes. So that's what I was up against. But anyway, when I came back from Nag's Head, I was emboldened at that time. I was empowered. And I said, I'm going to do this. You have the chance for me to have it where it started, where I was at, or I will go someplace else. And long story short, they felt like they were compelled that they had to do it. And thus that was the beginning. That was July the 16th of 2007. is when the anchoring light transmission started. Now, interestingly enough, as I've come to understand, who was really interceding, like in the Catholic religion, they have, would you intercede, like Divine Mother or one of the saints, they intercede on your behalf. Well, I would say that's what the extraterrestrials, who made their presence known to me gradually, because I remember saying in the 1980s, I was like, man, I'm kind of aware of this, I know, but I was not prepared to have anybody show up at the foot of my bed. I just said, I don't think I can handle it. So I said, you got to work with me with baby steps. Okay. Now, I let the signal out. Yeah, I can handle it now. Back then, probably I wasn't able to, but now I am. But what has come, throughout the time is that slowly, I remember now seeing when I would close my eyes, those wraparound eyes. And of course, when I'm now waking up there, I said, oh my God, those are the grays. Holy mackerel, and then there was a lot of negative talk about the grays and how did it happen. But I felt very strongly that whatever I was seeing and sensing was very spiritual. And so I finally, within myself, said, if this is a gray, which, had a not a positive connotation to it, I said, it's a spiritual gray. I really feel compatible to whoever this is. And I made peace with it. I made peace with it. Well, later on, I come to find out who's been with me all along are the Octarians. Okay. And uh, these beings, the ones that come in love and supportive, come in a way not to startle, not to get upset or to freak anybody out. They do it very, very subtly. They kind of wait for you to patience, for you to come along. And then I had a very vivid experience. And this was the time I went to Pumapunku and I went to, Peru and, you know, um, the ancient sacred sites there and Lake Titicaca. So, I'm expanding and aware. And so I remember I saw as vivid could be, in my mind's eye, a picture, a beautiful picture of a being. Again, it had the wraparound eyes, but how I perceived it to be, it was like light emanating from their face, but it was very structured. It was like a very pointed down, very pointed down. And it kind of looked like it was like a bit of a skull, elongated skull, hairless, no hair, but very, very beautiful. It's like how you would see marble, white marble, if you can imagine that. So it was like, very, very chiseled features. And I remember I made the decision to stay in the frequency, my brainwave frequency, because you can tell when your brain waves shift. And so I was able to know when it shifted. So I just stayed in whatever that alpha theta state I was in. My body was tired. I had exercised. I did a lot of work. And then when I laid down, it was like that was the perfect time to make contact where I'm tired, but my mind is active. And so very clearly, I have a drawing that I did of it. It was so vivid. And I said, I'm not afraid. I said, I'm open. I'm just going to be an observer. So I just took that mode. I'm just going to observe. And what this being did is that, it kind of showed me a little bit of the front, kind of turned the head like this. And then it showed me our Milky Way galaxy. I saw it clear as day. And then it showed me the planet Saturn clearly. Now, I have been trying to figure that out for years, and there's various things of what the meeting of Saturn, why they showed me that. And it has to do, in some of the readings that I have come across, to do to like that's an area or something of a council and headed by Sananda, or those who know Jesus the Christ. There's some sort of council around the Saturn area. So, and there's other layers of it too, but I believe that's the reason for that experience. So after that experience now, like if you have an experience, then it's more, the door is more open. It's like, I'm good with this, and so forth. Then what has happened since that time is that in the anchoring light transmission, these beings, what will call star beings, is what the Native Americans call them, these star beings who have been in service, just like the ascended masters and just like the angelics. What do we call the family of light? There's a big diversity in our family of light. Okay, you have different, evolutionary Davic, like the Davic realm, the human realm. There's different types, but we're all part of this family. But we have like different, like we're the Adamic species. So we have this particular family lineage, if you will, versus the Lyrians, versus some other groups that may be out there that is not part of the Adamic lineage. So what has happened now is that they will come, and they are probably closer depending on where you are, in your frequency, what you're able to pick up. Is that if you can't directly yet vibe, to say the higher ascended realms of the ultra terrestrials, talking about the ascended masters like Jesus the Christ, or Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, Maitreya, El Moria, uh, these kind of beings, okay, that are not in spacecraft, okay, they kind of hold whatever space they hold in the higher scheme of things. So their energies can only be dipped down but so much. Some of them could go all the way down, but most are like, nah, we're here. So you have this space where these extraterrestrials, the family of light, and the Arcturians refer to Jesus the Christ, who I call Sananda, as the radiant one. They're in service. The Arcturians are definitely in service to Jesus. And so if we're not able to get up to here, they're like the bridge. And that's what happened in the beginning of the anchoring light transmission. They were definitely the bridge. It was more galactic in energy, okay, until we were able to evolve to the point where we could make the direct connection to the higher ascended realms of light directly, without the need for these extraterrestrials to build that bridge for us. Um, they Now, where are we in terms of where they are in our lives? The extraterrestrials, who are the family of light, and many come with their different skills, with knowledge, um, with empathy. They say, oh, we know where you're at. We've been there, done that, or we're aware of your history. And so we want to assist you. They're going to come most of the times, they're talking to you in your higher self. So sometimes you may feel like a buzzing in your ears, or like a little electrical charge, or something happening where they are assisting you physically, mentally, and emotionally. They're making some adjustments. Or most certainly, if you call out and say, I think I have a relationship with the Arcturians, and actually we have a relationship with all of the star beings, but you have a particular preference of one, or a Palladian, or the Syrians, or the Andromedans. I mean, there's so many that is out there, and you feel, I kind of feel drawn to this for some reason. Well, don't ignore that. That can be your connection, or there's something special relationship with that particular group, of entities. They assist. If you're not feeling well, or you're looking for guidance, they're the ones that are closest, like right here. You can send a telepathic message to them, because they send telepathic messages to you. What you got to do is be alert. And that's our problem as humans. There's so much distractions out there. We're programmed, of course, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to work, we have to, this, and this has to be done. And it really takes discipline for us to carve time out of our busy schedule. For me, although it's just once a week, the anchoring light was guaranteed that I would at least have that time, okay, to make sure in my life I dedicated some time towards, my spiritual work, my spiritual discipline, my spiritual path. Should I be doing a lot more? I guess so, but at least, that's done. So whatever it is for you, that you have some say, I know I'm going to show up for this, or I'm going to read these books, is that you stay on that path of unfoldment. That's it. When you do that, you start getting assistance. And some of the first ones that are there to assist are our cousins. Our cousins, we're related. And they're like, oh, look, Mary Jane, look at this, everybody. Mary Jane is beginning to open up. I think we can send her a telepathic message. What do you think? Maybe we just show her a little bit of our ship, or maybe we'll just put in just, a little thought in there to say, wow, we admire, you're the greatest, Mary Jane. Keep on going, rah, rah, rah. So if they understand that our light spectrum is limited. They understand that we are in this matrix. They know, and so they're like, how do we get through? He said, you know what? Mary Jane tends to be more clairsentient. She feels better. Why won't we just put a chill or something through her, or feel like a wrapping of warmth, to get her attention? Or, Sharon Elizabeth, her telepathic skills seems to be a little bit up there. Let's start practicing with her telepathically, and assist her in that. And let's go with George. George, wow, he has potential to really be a good clairvoyant. Let's just put some pictographs in there, and maybe instead of it being black and white, later on it'll turn to color. Then let's not exclude the higher realms of light, of the ascendant masters, okay, that are there constantly too. But it almost is like, as you would have the angels that are the messengers. It's, excuse me, knock, knock, I got a message for you. Okay. It came from the highest realms of light, specifically to you. And of course, we have the angelics. They are there, they're working, they have their job, they're from the Davic realm. And we also have, what we call the extraterrestrials. I don't call them aliens because we're aliens if we were in their world. So we'll just say not of Terra, or not hanging out at Terra, I should say at this time. There could have been some extraterrestrials where they were hanging out in this planet and then left, and now we're here. There's someone like, hey, we want our world back. I'm sorry, we're already here. So there's also a lot of different dynamics that are going on. And there's some of them that are here and never left. That's there too. Okay, so it's all a matter of perspective. So what I want to say to you is this: as you move on your spiritual path, at some point you become aware that we're not the only species in this multiverse. As you stay on your spiritual path and you are a seeker, you come to find out that you are one of a myriad of sentient beings, and that there is a connection to many of them and yourselves. And as you walk on your spiritual path, you become aware that there are those cousins that are here to help and to assist us. That's like their job. They're like a guide. We want to support you and help you. And there may be some that are specifically assigned to you purposely because you have a connection with that race or an agreement with that race. So some may be more relevant to you than others because there's a special connection. I feel, even though the Palladians were the first ones to open me up and started that, and I love the Palladians, and they have helped me, by the way, with doing remote traveling, being out of body experiences. They have helped me. It's the Palladians, but my strongest heart connection is to the Arcturians. And clearly, I have something special going on with the Arcturians. So we all have like our family. We all have our star being family, and with many of them, some of them in particular, and some of them represent a distant memory of me being on their world.
A distant memory, us remembering that I think I'm connected because I remember this world and I am here on assignment and they are here to assist me in fulfilling my assignment. We also become aware that there are those who are not coming from that. We are aware Star Trek was a good educational process. And again, we also have to remember that we are in a fallen universe. So whoever shows up, we always want to discern. And if it's coming from love, support, and peace, okay, then we're good. If something's like, I'm not too sure, then you don't ignore that. And this is what I would say how you could tell, and this is what I do. What I do is if some energy is showing up, I always do Kadosh, 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 Adonai, Sabayoth. And if you're familiar with the Cosmic Center, you know on our Saturday Sabbaths, many of them, and different events, we say that, which basically means holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. It's connected to the throne, Kether, the higher levels of Kether in the tree of life. That has to do with the source of God for the Adamic, for the Adamics. You know, it is like God, a God of all creations, of course, but it's almost like a little lineage that goes up to this little section over here. Okay, and so there's holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. But it's said in Hebrew because Hebrew is one of the five sacred languages. And many of you already know that the other four are Tibetan and Sanskrit, Egyptian and Chinese. And these languages are higher vibration languages, or they came from the higher realms of light. They were not originated on the planet. It comes from the higher levels. So it has more power. And so that's why I always say, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. And if that presence is not good and good for you, it cannot stay. But if that presence is there and you're kadoshing, you're good. You're good. And at some point, there's some people who are clairaudient, and they hear what they're saying. So it's going to come to you in many different ways. For me, it comes telepathically more clearly. And as we move our path, I also now am more clairvoyant than I was before. Every now and again, I can hear something, but as we pursue each of us, we're going to receive the messages and the information they share, which will be always for our benefit, in the way that's most easiest for us to make the connection. And so, what I would say is that please, please incorporate just by your intention to say, hey, my family of light. That's why I said uh, the affirmation that we had just done, which was the Esri Umpalti Ata Yod He Vod He, meaning I am not alone. And you have a myriad. You have the angelic realm. You have the ascended masters. The saints, and you have our cousins, the extraterrestrials. They're all part of the Ami Shaddai, the family of light, here to assist you. And as you walk your spiritual path, because they're on a spiritual path too. And they, just like how, we have guides, ancestors also, let's not forget them. They're there. So the once you open up to the diversity and the immensity of what we're part of, it's like you're in awe. You're in awe. The one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit, I just read it, I think the seventh one was called, um, it's not fear of the Lord. The translation, people think in our culture, fear of the Lord being like you're scared. What it really means is in awe of the Lord, like in awe, you're humbled, you're in reverence to what this is. That's the energy of what that is. So what I'm going to do now, everybody, I'm going to open this up for any questions that you may have. Um, and I'll be happy to answer them. You can raise your hand and I could allow you to speak. And also, if you want to, you could use the chat. So I see Ava, you have your hand up. I'm going to allow you to talk. Hi, Ava.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this broadcast today. I do have experiences like you brought up early when you were opening up. Um, I've had an experience with a being that was, well, I'm more clairsentient. So as I
Mm-hmm.
was opening up, like at night, I believe they're helping me evolve, which I think is pretty much how you're explaining it. They're helping, just here to help us evolve
Mm-hmm.
spiritually. And um, so the being that I saw was white, and it did look like it had the larger head with the two large, beautiful eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But it had one in the middle, like an eye in the middle as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. So I believe that they're helping me. There, you can feel the presence is very loving.
Yes.
So you know that it's not like it's something that it feels like you have this connection with.
Yes. And that's why, as you're on a spiritual path, you're going to get more assistance. So I want to say to the being that you're talking about, I also had an experience that I think was a different being from who I perceived to be the Arcturians. And I looked it up, and I think they're called the tall whites. And they come from the Zeta Reticuli area, where some people say, well, that's where the grays are, but this is like a different group. And they come as very white. They look white and they're tall.
Mhm.
And my understanding is some of them have this third eye. The ones that I saw did not, but but this particular group, which I think might be what you're describing, they come to people who are spiritual because they're highly spiritual.
Mhm.
So they come to people who are spiritual, and so when they come, they're coming in love and they're coming to assist.
Right.
And that's why a lot of times you see people, that are on this path, they look good, they age well, you know, their life is vibrant, they're involved, it's because that, sometimes what they come in is they're able to make some adjustments, blockages and things like that, that more light can come in, and to assist you. So that's wonderful, Ava. And always, again, and I will write it down, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sabaoth. If there's any question about anything, there's always something that you can say. And if it's not of the high frequency that it should be, then it can't stay. But thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
That's
I love the
wonderful.
message.
Huh?
I said thank you. I love the message. You put
Oh,
it
wonderful, Ava. Thank you so much, sweetie. Is there anybody else that has any questions or something they would like to say? Okay. All right. I'm not seeing anybody over here. So I'm going to write the phrase Kadosh. It's Kodoish, Kadosh, Kadosh, Adonai, Adonai, Sabaoth. Kadosh, 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 I don't know, Sabaoth. Sababat. No, Sabaoth. I got to look it up. It's Sabaoth. I can't think of it right now. Sabaoth. I'm going to put it down how it sounds, Sabaoth, but that's not how it's spelled. You could look it up in Google. Just start off with that, Kadosh, Kadosh, Adonai, and they'll Sabaoth, Yoth. Okay, it's not spelled Sabayoth, but that's the way it sounds, okay? All righty, well, this concludes, unless there's anybody else that has anything to share. And thank you, Ava, for sharing again. Um, I do have the ccosl.com/donate. Of course, we provide this depending on the loving kindness and donations of our community. Actually, we're going to have a big fundraiser splash, maybe in about a week or 2 weeks, through the GoFundMe account. So that's something that's we're going to, and appreciate if you would pass it on to others, that are attuned to the kind of important work that we do. And you all know how important this information is. Coming up, just in terms of current events, we need not discuss what's going on because everybody is aware. Last Monday, I felt it. And, for us to pray for peace. Let me tell you what I think, and this is my opinion. Last Monday, at that anchoring light, and the appeal to pray for peace, and the work that we did on Monday, I feel mitigated something that could have been far worse on Wednesday. It could have been where you had such extremists, and they did find bombs there, but it could have been a situation where there could have been a lot more fatalities and a real attempt to take over the country. And I have been praying, I've been affirming, I was like, not on our watch, that's not going to happen. It would have been nice if the whole thing could have been averted, but I felt the idea of a civil war. And I've been talking about it for a while, that we got to stay on point, and it's not yet gone. That thought form is just so daggone persistent. It's still circling around the United States and the world. Like a big division for lots of civil wars. And of course, we're trying not to have a World War III, not on our watch. So I just want to tell you to every light worker that's here, please hold the higher world vision, okay, of peace in the world. Meaning you have to be peaceful as much as you can, encourage others to be peaceful, and just put out, positive vibrations to simmer and potential timelines. And you know what, there's going to be some shaking up, but we can mitigate it. It doesn't have to be that intense. It doesn't have to be that intense. We can kind of smooth it out, as we move forward. Because there's going to be more stuff down the pike. So we all have to know how to hold that energy within ourselves and not get dismantled, disrupted, or manipulated by it. Okay, pray for peace. Namaste, family of light. I'll see you on Monday at the Anchoring Light transmission. Bye.